SA Heritage Resource Agency, has halted the planned sale of former President Nelson Mandela's artifacts by an American auction house. These include gifts received from U.S. Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush, inscribed books, clothing, and the key to Madiba's Robben Island prison cell. Now, the family put the items up for auction to raise funds for a memorial garden and museum at the Mandela burial site in Qunu in the Eastern Cape. But the agency says the Mandelas failed to apply for the permits needed to have the items removed from the country. Okay, let's unpack the story for you now. We're joined by the late statesman's grandson, that's Ndaba Mandela, this morning. Ndaba, it's great to have you with us on the program, and there's a lot of clarity that's needed on the story. First of all, how did this auction house come to be in possession of these items belonging to your grandfather?
Thank you very much, Michelle. Firstly, I must clarify that this was not a move by the family.
Right.
This was a move by a rogue member of the family. So what happened approximately last year on the 13th of March, Makaziwe, my aunt, came to our house in Houghton and literally removed all of the furniture from our house. My younger brother Andile was there. He witnessed her. She literally came to our house with trucks, removed the bed, paintings, carpets, you name it, and really left our house empty. And we had no idea why she did this. And so when I came back, because I was traveling at the time, when I came back, you know, my brother told me about this. I was very shocked. And so I went to her and asked, Auntie Maki, why did you remove our furniture? And she said, well, the house is in ruins, the house is dirty. That's why I took the house. I said, but really, is that a reason for to take our furniture? Clearly, you can just communicate to me and say that I'm not happy with the state of the house. I need to clean the house, make sure it's in a good state. Anyway, she refused to bring back the items. And I told her, I said, Auntie Maki, these things do not belong to you. So what you have done is actually you've committed theft. Anyway, I told her that I would lay a charge against her, and she said she didn't care. And so I laid the charge against her. That was in April. And then the police officer went and obviously investigated and got her side of the story. And what she then told the officer, which was to my shock, was that she says that she is now fighting against the will. And I say to myself, but are you the very same person that actually took money from the will when it was read, and when money was dispersed, you actually received money, you took money, and then a few years later, you now want to challenge the will, and you want to take our grandfather's items? And so that happened in April, and then later in the year, around about September, we were very shocked to see these items being auctioned off, being advertised to be auctioned off at a later date in December. And of course, then I got in touch with my lawyer in New York, who then pursued, you know, a case against them, and we wrote letters to them, and I galvanized about 12 of our family members. And I was very much assisted with my aunt, Anzeni, the ambassador of Korea, who was very instrumental in assisting me and getting in touch with the government agency as well as the ministry to fight this cause. So yesterday for us was really a great celebration to find out that this auction has been halted.
Yeah. So the story about the Mandela family wanting to hold this auction to raise funds for a memorial garden and a museum around Madiba's burial site, is that also false?
That is false. That is Makaziwe's, that's what she wanted to do, right? That is what an individual member of the family wanted to do. She never informed the family, right? And we don't know anything about this memorial garden, you know, that she wants to raise money for the memorial garden. If that was the fact, how come she didn't tell a single member of the family?
So you tried to speak to her as your aunt. Yeah. The rest of the family got involved. It was only when the Heritage Agency actually contacted the auction house to say these are precious artifacts in South Africa and they actually need permission to leave the country. That was when you succeeded in halting the auction.
Yes, we had made numerous attempts with my lawyer in New York to actually speak to the auction house. they were very surprised and shocked about the story that these items were actually stolen, taken from our house without permission, without any, telling any of the family members. And only when the government agencies were involved did they take our matter seriously.
Yeah. Have you spoken to Auntie Maki since this latest development?
I have not. When we initially had tried to reach out to the auction house in, I think it was late October, I had actually shared a letter with your team just to show that we had been making numerous attempts over the past 9 months to actually stop the auction. Yeah. We are finally happy that this auction is stopped, but now we need to get our items back to the rightful place, which is our grandfather's house, and back in South Africa where it belongs.
Yeah. I mean, it follows hot on the heels on that controversy around the key to Madiba's Robben Island cell as well. When you first heard that the key was up for auction, what was your reaction?
I was also very shocked because that means whoever took the key from Robben Island was clearly working with Auntie Maki, because it turned out to be auctioned off in the same auction. And, it was very surprising because my cousin had actually had taken a delegation to Robben Island last year. And, usually, I don't know if you've been before, but usually you can actually go into the cell and actually take a picture in the cell. But on this occasion, a few months ago, they said to my cousin that, oh, we've misplaced the key, we can't find the key. And that was also another shock. I mean, how does the museum lose the key?
I actually hadn't heard that the key was misplaced from Robben Island.
Yes.
So, Ndaba, what do you do now as a family in response to someone, a member of your family, on the face of it, wanting to benefit from the legacy of Madiba? Is that a fair statement to make?
That is a fair statement. That was an unduly attempt to benefit individually by herself. Yeah. She was not going to share that money. Maybe she would have put some money towards the memorial, but trust me, the rest of that money was going to go straight to her pocket and to her own, family. So the only thing we can really do is to make sure, one thing I'm very proud of and happy about is that my grandfather taught me how to fight. And so fighting has become second nature to me. And so for us, it's really about making sure the right thing happens, and that is those items be returned, not to Auntie Maki, who stole them and really smuggled them out of the country, but those things be returned to the rightful owners, which is be returned to our house in Halton. This was very sad because it had effects. For example, we couldn't obviously continue living in a house that has no furniture, me and my two younger brothers. We were displaced by this actual, occurrence, and we had to go and find other places to live. Yeah. There's been a lot of damage that's been done by her actions.
So I suppose the follow-on question is, once the items are returned to our country and, as you say, to your home, do you have a log of all of the items that were taken, and can you ensure that everything will be returned? And then also, what are the next steps that now need to be put in place to make sure that his legacy and these items are protected?
Well, I think first, we don't have a log, unfortunately, but, I did take pictures a number of years ago of the whole house. The only place I didn't take pictures was obviously his bedroom. So there will be obviously some shortfall and discrepancy there because there was not an actual log. But, we are very happy that the government finally stepped in at the critical moment. And so we are hoping that the government, the Ministry of Arts and Culture, as well as the agency, can help us retrieve these goods that belong to the family and belong to the greater South Africa. I think that is the most important thing. Now that the auction has been halted, we need to, help ourselves with the government and anybody really that understands and believes that these things belong in the hands of South Africans.
And of course, as you say, a case has been opened against your aunt as well.
A case was opened by myself against my aunt. My brother, who witnessed the actual theft taking place, he actually also went to the police station and actually made a complaint. I also want to mention that I also went and reported the matter in April to Judge Moseneke as well as Michael Katz, who are the executors of the trust. And to my dismay and surprise, they did absolutely nothing. They did absolutely nothing, and yet they are the executors who are supposed to be protecting Madiba's goods. They did nothing, which means they were complacent, and therefore I asked myself, were they in cahoots with Anjimaki? Do you know that? I want to let you know that even last year, Moseneke and the executors tried to sell our grandfather's house, and they made me and other family members bid for our own house that our grandfather has actually left to us. Now, me and my two younger brothers have what we call usufructa of the house. You can use the house in perpetuity, right? Of course, there's a bit of politics around this issue, because in the actual will, it says that the states or the executors are the ones to pay for the municipal bills and all that stuff, but they have refused to actually continue and carry out their responsibility that was written by Nelson Mandela himself. So it has been a struggle over the past couple of years to actually uphold and maintain that house. And so people should not be surprised at the really degrading state of our house. And it's actually it's a national disgrace. It's a travesty, ladies and gentlemen, that our former president, Nelson Mandela, not only the most loved man in Africa, but in the world, his whole estate is degrading because he put people who are not actually doing their job. So we need to make sure that there is proper security at the house. You know, how is it possible that there is security in Kunu, right? Police guards in Kunu, where nobody lives, and yet where we were here in Johannesburg, the family, they told us that there was a shortage of police and they couldn't guard that house.
Look, these are serious allegations, Ndaba, that you're making against the executives of the former president, your grandfather's.
Paper trail, I have a paper trail of these allegations that I'm making. These are not allegations, this is facts.
Yeah, and no doubt we'll get them to respond to exactly what you've said. Ndaba Mandela, let's hope that all of the belongings from Madiba's home gets returned not only to the home, but as you say, to South Africans as well. It's definitely a story that we hope to talk to you about again in future as we keep track of just when they arrive back in the country. Ndaba Mandela joining us here on this developing story we're tracking, the SA Heritage Resource Agency halting a planned sale of Madiba's artifacts by an American auction house. Ndaba Mandela saying that it was his aunt who allegedly stole those artifacts from the house and was trying to auction them off to line her own pockets. It's a big story that we'll keep our eyes on for you here on the AM Report.